In regards to what's going on out there, I like what I'm saying, and I'm going to let everybody funnel in a little bit, but before we begin. But I really like the action that we're seeing in the market this morning. Bidding up ahead of the CPI is great news. It's exactly what you want to say, and that's really what we're going to see how it comes out here. It's going to be out here in about a minute or two. I haven't seen it hit yet, but we're waiting for this to come out, and then as soon as it does, we'll say it. And here we go. 5.4% versus 5.3%. I mean, it's not going the right way, but it's interesting. Very interesting that, we're trading up on all this. So let's see if that continues. Maybe it's not as bad as people expected. And that's really what we're looking for, right? We're really looking for the expectations and how people are going to respond to it. So that's where we stand with it. But overall, I think it's really, I think it's decent news. So, let's see what happens here with the markets. They don't really seem to be acting to it at all. Matter of fact, they actually seem to be benefiting from it, moving around a little bit, but not much massive action on this. So that's really what we're looking for. We're just looking for some kind of stability here. And once we see that stability, I think we're in good shape. To start with, and I'm just going to run through this now, I think it's fascinating, and I think everyone should be paying attention to the fact that Apple came out and guided lower, and everybody knows this is a systemic issue, and we're bidding up. So we're bidding up on the market. So even if we come down a little bit, we're still bidding up. And I think that's really important to recognize and understand. So please pay attention to that today. This is a major divergence on what we've been dealing with. And I'd watch Apple very, very closely today if it went green. So let's get into it. Let's make it happen. Let's start going. So Qualcomm, what's going on, Daniel? It just could mean that they're done. Like, these get to a point where and this is what happens. And it's good that you're recognizing that, right? Like, these get to a point where that's it. They're done. They're not going down anymore. Now, I'm not a big buyer of crossing the 8 and the 21 with the 50 like this, especially when I'm in a trend like this, because it just means I'm getting smaller. I would argue that dips on this now should be bought. Okay. Any dips on this should be bought, and then just trading up and trying to build a position at this point. I think you're getting pretty washed out here, frankly, is what I think is starting to happen. And this could break out. I think you have some room to go before people start buying these names, but I do like what I'm seeing here. I mean, if you look what's going on here, you're kind of forming that W. You came back down. You tested that 715 level again, 711. And now look, now we're getting over the 8 again. Yeah, that gives you a clear shot up here on ASML to 790. So, that's not the worst thing to start looking at building positions in these on pullbacks now. So I like the space. In regards to Qualcomm, Qualcomm's Qualcomm. Qualcomm always acts differently than most names. I'm not a big buyer of Qualcomm here. I mean, it's just straight down and you're riding the 8-day, which just means you're seeing constant selling. So for me, there's not really anything that I would do there. The AMD name is appealing. And, we're just really going to have to see how the market acts after it digests all this news that came out with the CPI. And people, I'm not going to tear into the CPI while I'm here and start drilling down into it. It'll take too much time, but you have to go through the CPI and look at what went up in cost, what went down in cost, and kind of go from there. But overall, I really like what I'm seeing this morning as far as action. I'll take it. I'll take it. These are the kinds of days that you really want to pay attention to. Tesla's my primary concern of an option expiring soon. Hey, no. So the question I would ask is, what is the option? Right? It depends on the option. It's really hard to state what you should be doing with an option unless I know which one it is. I have a lot of experience in options. I don't really get into it, but I was a registered options principal for over a decade. So I can answer any option questions you have like that. But to get into it, just throw it out there and just let me know what you're in, so then I can answer it more intelligently. The more specific you are, the better I can be at answering your questions. So for me, it all boils down to what I see going on here. And I pointed this out last night. This outside week, the fact that you have an outside week, the fact that the 781 this past week flipped, right? And now this week we're opening, closing above it like it's nothing, is pretty much telling you everything that you need to see. I don't see any reason why we're not getting back up to here, unless we have a major meltdown or something fundamentally comes out about earnings. But they do not seem to be having supply issues. They seem to be having the exact opposite. They seem to be rocking and rolling, which is kind of interesting. So if you want to let me know what option, I can answer your question a little bit better. Open, I like a lot. I really like this, and I think it's going to continue to work. That's the weekly, to put it in perspective, right? So if you were just looking at this weekly chart, okay, you broke there. I mean, it's pretty much a magnet to $28 is what I'm thinking. I mean, I'm just looking at the weekly on it. There's really no reason for me to show you a daily. This is just so clean to look at. We can look at the daily. I mean, it doesn't really matter. But what I'm getting at is that the weekly is giving you a really good representation on what's going on. And you can see here 2265, and you can see where that 2809 level is. So I like the name a lot. And I think the name will continue to move higher. So I think it'll just keep grinding higher. Frankly, that's my opinion on it. I would be looking to be a dip buyer on that name. So Any had news this morning with a crypto mining company. Yeah, I mean, look, that's the kind of stuff that will it get a move out of it? Sure. I mean, it did, right? I mean, you closed here, right? 731. So, I mean, now you're up 760. Yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff, you'll get a move on it. Look, the action yesterday was not what I wanted at all. Now you're building this little flag. Maybe it works. But you need to watch that 764 level. To me, it should have acted a lot better than it did, frankly. So just keep that in mind. I'm not crazy about it here. It should have acted better yesterday. WFRD. Hey, Isaiah. I mean, that's a pretty huge breakout yesterday. How was the volume on that breakout? Yeah, that's pretty decent. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not really sure what's the reason for the spike, but that's a really nice move. So what you're seeing here is $20, and you're breaking that 20 and you went to 24. Okay, so now you have to think about it and go, which way would we go here? What's the best way for us to go? And I think that's where you're heading. Okay, I think that's the best way. That's where you're heading. And there's not much more to say about that. I think that could really take off. So if you get above this, I mean, it's been a while. Now you have a little bit of a trend line here, right? So you might have an issue up here. It does seem to respect this, doesn't it? So just watch this and watch how you respond to that. But I like that name. That's an interesting trade. You're throwing too much at me. Utu, you're throwing too much. Let me do it this way. So Airbnb, I liked a lot. I put a trade on. I got stopped out of it. And, of course, the next day there's an upgrade on the stock. That's the way it works. You still failed to get above this. I will reevaluate this over 177. Until then, I'm not going to look at it. CPE, this is what's going on. And I was pointing this out earlier. Look, I'm below the 8-day. I've not been below the 8-day since this started. Pay attention to things like that, okay? Pay attention to wicks at the top of trading ranges, right? They can mean reversals. Pretty clear that this is mimicking exactly what's going on in energy. Very quickly, I don't want to go through all these for obvious reasons, but if we look at this very quickly to answer your question and just want to get a snapshot of what's going on, I would recommend that everybody have something like this where they have the 9 biggest sectors, and you can very simply click the change button and see where they all lie during the day. Okay, so the S&P is flat. These are the sectors that are outperforming right now, right? Financials, staples, technology. These are the ones that are selling off the most. People are blowing out of the utilities. People are blowing out of their energy names. What does that mean? That means people are repositioning their portfolios. Where are they repositioning it to? Well, financials. Why? Well, they might be going to financials because it looks like they're going to have to raise rates with the CPI number today. I would focus on technology and financials out of this group and what this is telling me today. That's where my head would be. So I think it makes sense to do that. Tesla 800 calls, break even 825, expiring Friday. You just have to sell into a rip. I mean, you've got 3 days left, right? Your break even's 825. You might get it, you might not. I really can't tell you anything more than that. This market could come down. It could do a myriad of things. Like, you're not really in a spot where there's a ringing endorsement on what's going to happen here, is the best way that I can say it. I think it's a good idea to start buying these dips, but to answer your question, I mean, the money that I've made on Tesla, it's just literally been buying little breakouts and holding them, right? I mean, that's the money. That's how I got up in this here and here on my shorter term trades in it. And I like it. I think you could break out, but can you get to here by Friday? Yeah, you could, if the market runs. If the market's going to do this, which is the exact opposite of what we wanted to do, which is starting to sell off, yeah, not so much, right? You're probably going to have a harder time with that. So, you can email me if you want, but what I would say to you is you're going to have to look at this. Let me go to here real quick and put this recently viewed back up. What I would say to you is this, in regards to your position, you could actually look at selling calls out against the position, right? So if you own the 800 calls at 825 is your break even, go look at selling the 825s and see if there's any money that you could pick up and then reduce your cost on it. You can do something like that, but you can always reach out to me via email and I can get more specific. Baba, still short. Yeah, I mean, look, here's my thesis on these names. I'm looking at these much longer term. I've been, and you'd have to go through my feed to see it, but I started that newsletter that we've been doing. It's almost been a year since the newsletter's been out. And I just want to point this out. This is where we broke. Okay. Every time you're breaking these levels, that's it. My long-term thesis on these Chinese names that are this specific, some of them are going to be around. This NIO, the more I look in this NIO, the more interesting it is as a company. I just have a hard time trusting the numbers, but like something like Baba, I think that you're thinking, you should be thinking about this possibly being, a sub 100 stock. So that's kind of how I am, but let me explain real quick how I trade. So if I'm short and then I'm up here and I'm short and then it comes in, I'll cover some and leave the rest on. So then if it ever hits here, I just break even. Meanwhile, if I catch one of these moves down, I do well. That's on how I do it. I'm constantly locking in profits on shorts, constantly. Because one move could just wipe you out. So you have to, or wipe out the gains of the position, not wipe me out. I'm very close to buying calls and buying. I'm very close to buying calls and buying a large trading position in Apple. I'll leave it at that. I need to see how it acts today. My hope is that it goes green for a period of time. If it does do that, I'm probably going to be all over it. I think that this could be the washout, frankly. So LEU, CCJ, LEU. So, well, I don't know what's going on here. Was there a buyout offer or I don't know why we moved like this, but that's a huge move. I'd have to look at the news. Was there earnings? No. So I'd have to know if you could give me a reason why it moved. That's interesting. Off the open so far, all you've done is come straight down. So I need to see more, but that's a really nice move yesterday. If you're in from yesterday, that's great. Is this a, I don't know the name. I don't recognize the name. Is it a uranium company? Because you threw another one at me that's a uranium company. So yeah, they all broke out yesterday and started rocking. Maybe they work. I don't know. Right now, you'd have to see. Right. Worst case, you're setting up one of these, which is not really what you're going to want. So, but we don't know that yet. We're just starting the day. But that's it. Yeah, uranium. Yeah, they could keep going, but you need to see follow through. They could keep going. That's all one big trade, right? Like whatever name you're in, you might as well play it one of two ways. You either buy something like this, which owns all of them, right? Like, I mean, if you look at the move from here to here, yeah, it's a little more muted, but what I'm getting at is you just buy them all, or you buy the one with the lowest float because it's all one big trade. So, I mean, that's how I would trade it. Hey, Nader. Amazon. You're in a trading range. I don't see any sense in doing anything there. I really don't. You're just in this massive trading range. When it comes down to here, 3,000, I think that's something that you can look at. So, morning, Jared. INMD and IRBT. INMD. So if you don't subscribe to this channel, you may want to subscribe and click notifications because these videos start at a different time every morning, 8:15, 8:30. It just depends on when I'm finished doing what I need to do. But look at the 79.05. You went right to that yesterday. I'm going to argue that you need to fill the wick and get through 79.05, and then you might really want to look at this. I think it's important to recognize what exactly happened here. Okay. Here's your downward trend line. This is a bear flag. You're negating the bear flag or the high of the bear flag by breaking above it, which is exactly what you've done, and you closed above it. But you rejected the top here, right? So by rejecting this top, you want to get above that, okay? Getting above that and staying above it is everything. If you can get above this here, you're negating the flag. If you negate the flag, you can get back up to 90. So for me, looking at this, I would also just argue something that's statistically true. When you're up here and you're at 90 for the first time, right? And this is statistics. If you go back for, a long period of time, decades, there's a 70% chance once you hit 90 that you're going to hit 100. So this could just be a pullback and then you wind up going higher. I would argue that over 79.05 is definitely something that I would take a look at on INMD, hands down. It's a very interesting spot to be looking at it. So I'll just leave it at that. But I do like that name a lot. IRBT. Yeah, I mean, I just wouldn't go near it. I mean, maybe you get one of these again, but there's no reason to even throw in. Like we already know where the indicators are, right? We already know we're down. No reason to do that. So, good morning, Ahmed. So, you're welcome, buddy. So, I mean, I see the uranium move, and as always, just put your symbols in, and then I can run through them for you. But I see the uranium move. I mean, look, could this go? Absolutely. Right? I mean, if you break through this, you're probably going to see a big push, but you're going to have to watch and see how that plays out. I'm going to grab a little more coffee real quick here. So, but overall, yeah, I really like the uranium moves. So, but if they follow through, yeah. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. If you're already married to it, you're married to it. There's not much that you can do about that. AR, hey, Dachi. AR, let's do it. So, Antero Resources Corporation. I mean, that's a really nice move that you had here. I don't know if you're already in it or not. It always helps people when they give me a little color on what they're doing. But this was beautiful. Broke out, came back down, tested support, and ran, right? Almost like a little cup, then almost like a little handle. And then it went. So I like this, but you can see your issue here, right? I mean, you probably don't need me to show you this, but you can see that issue right there, 21.24. I would really watch that level because you're having a heck of a time with it, aren't you? So let's get through 21.24 and then we can review it. We can throw the moving averages in, but they're not really telling us anything. You know, you've broken the 8 a couple times and then bounced. So I don't really see a reason to tell me that I need to get out because of that. But I like that name, but I'd watch that level. Snap. So, you know, this is, I'm going to stop giving lessons so early in the morning to people, but this is why it's so important to look at multiple time frames, you know, and we in the trading room, we nailed this. Like, this is what we were talking about right here. You know, you're going to get up to here and then you might reject. And look what happened. You rejected and everybody's giddy again, and then they buy in, and then snap pulls the flim flam, right? So you're just in a trading range. I mean, there's really no other way to say it. Look, the one thing that Snap has going for it right now is that it's out of everybody's crosshairs. Okay, that's the best way that I can explain it. You are out of everyone's crosshairs. So by that, I mean, Facebook's going to face regulatory issues. People with the censorship you're seeing on Twitter, people are getting over these, you know, lifetime bans. You know, it's kind of crazy that they're doing that. And, you know, they have to come out and change their ways, right? So I've been leaning towards telling people to look at Snap and Pins. But Pins earnings were just abysmal. And I thought we might see a bounce so that because people think the earnings are going to get better. That's not what happened. So maybe we have to get through another quarter of earnings on Pins. But I'd be very interested in looking at Pins towards the end of the month, because this might be a one hit kind of blip and then go from there. Now, during the summertime, people aren't on these apps as much. But what you're saying is this is just basing, to get back to your question. So because this is basing, I would do nothing, right? I mean, here's your breakdown on your daily. I don't even need this anymore. So here's your breakdown on your daily. This forms a what? Bear flag. Tries to break out of the bear flag, gets back up to here. Can't do it. I have a reversal pattern right here. Now, I wouldn't go near this yet, right? I mean, you should be able, I could just use this one actually, can I? So, I mean, you should be able to see this. Right? See that line, how you're coming down? Let's put it this way so you can actually see what I'm talking about. Let's close this here. Pull this back over here. And look, see what I'm talking about? See that wedge? You're going to want to watch that because that's the wedge of the bear flag. But and by bear flag, it doesn't mean it's going to break. It tried, right? And failed. You have a fail H pattern here, and that's when it bounced. But now you just have to watch and see what happens with it. Okay. Adam ESTC. So Adam, what you're seeing here is you're just seeing it base. Let's get rid of this. Like there's nothing to do here. Your indicators are probably what? Pointing up? Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't do anything with this. You're just in a trading range. There's not really much to say there. So ESTC. Yeah, I mean, you're bouncing back, sure. Here's a trend line. So I always tell people to leave these in for a little bit because sometimes they respect them. You need to flip back into this channel. And that's what I'd be focused on there, flipping back into this channel. Yeah, Apple with the chip shortage issues, it's definitely an issue, right? But to me, this is not blowing up. I mean, I'm down $1 from where I was last night. This is nothing. So I'm not really overly sweating this at all. I'm kind of happy with it. So I'll take it. I don't really view this as something where I have to concern myself a lot with. So let's see how this plays out, but that's really where my head is. Let me just see how it goes. You know, I mean, I really think that they could work. Look, these stocks seem to be, if we go through these, we looked at them a little bit earlier today. Let me just show you this. I mean, that kind of looks like we're starting to base, right? You're kind of putting a bottom in. Let me rephrase that. You're sure as heck trying to put a bottom in. So when you start looking at some of these names, and I think that that's pretty becoming pretty clear that this is trying to find out a bottom. Now, where that becomes, I don't know, but we're definitely seeing one. And let's see how it plays out. But I think you're getting there. I think you're getting washed out. Now this is an H, and you need to bounce here today. If you take out that low, you're going to have a problem on the stocks. But some names are starting to bounce in semiconductors, so I'd start looking at that. So, you're welcome, Nat. Affirm, hey, Cena. So Affirm, like, here's the thing. Look, to me, this was a classic short. Try to short it, right? Here's your rally. Like, look, I mean, this was the move. Okay, here's my move. I'm going to break down. I broke down from this high yesterday. Then we're going to reverse. That's what they've been doing. I gap lower, and then I closed near the high, and now I'm building this huge flag, and I'm respecting the flag. So to me, I'd be really careful here now on either way of this. Maybe getting through 145, you can look at it again on the long side now. I'm surprised we didn't break down more yesterday. This had potential to really break down, did not break down. So you're starting to see some strength in some of these names, and maybe this is one of them that works. Maybe this is one that actually works. I don't know. Here, look at it this way. Okay. I mean, this is what you're dealing with. And if I squeeze this down on a firm and we come to here, and you can see it this way. And as always, just put the tickers in and then I can answer them. But that's really what you're looking for, right? That's your issue. That's your question. So we'll have to see. And, we're going to have to see how that goes. But, we're really going to have to see how this plays out. But I would watch that level because this is a huge cup. And if I start getting truly above that level, this can go again. I mean, they're definitely a growth company, and there's a lot of growth going on there. So I really like that. You're also going to start seeing some moves in like the solar names. I mean, we're starting to really see that, like EMPH. This is one that it's definitely on my radar that I'm watching. Let me show this on a daily so you can see it. So I really like this today. This could trade up to here. I would go through all of them. People don't understand that just because this $3.5 trillion bill is done, that it means that it's over. It doesn't. It means that now they're going to start doing smaller bills, which is actually, for some of these stocks, is actually better because they're going to get more coverage because of that. If you have a $3.5 trillion bill, I think it was 3,000 pages. These bills that come out now for solar or for charging stations, they're going to be much smaller and much more discussed as to who's going to be the beneficiary. So I think it's going to benefit certain groups greatly. I actually think that's one of the reasons why Morgan Stanley came out today and upgraded Plug, because they're realizing that there are certain names that are going to really benefit from what's going on out there. And I agree. I think that this name can benefit from it. I'm not a big buyer of buying things that are up. I mean, everybody knows that. But that's how I would focus on it. So, you're welcome, Cena. Anytime. Thank you. So URNM. Let's look at URNM and see what's going on out there. URNM. And we're seeing a ton of interest in these names today. I mean, look, these moves are no joke. I mean, that's a big move yesterday on uranium, right? So that's definitely a big move and not something that you should pretend is not happening. Your first level is going to get to 95. And that's what you need to look at. But this can be all over the place. And you're really going to have to watch this. I mean, I would draw this, but it's kind of pointless now because we're already over at pre-market. But watch that and watch a level like that off the open, right? If you break that wedge off the open, you may see action in this. Okay, that's a big move. So, and a lot of volume. The volume's what has me very interested in this. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of people playing it. See the spike yesterday? That usually does not go away, right? So you could see some follow through in these names. I mean, you usually don't do this. So it's a good sign, to say the least. Let's see. UROY. CCJA covered. UROY. Uranium royalty. I mean, it's all one big trade, right? I mean, you should be able to look at this and see that. So what I would do is go to the one that has the way that I would play this. It's all one big trade. So there's two ways to play one big trade, right? Especially when it's commodity based. You play the one with the smallest float because that's the one that's going to get squeezed the most, right? And have the most leverage. It's not always the smallest one, but the one with the smallest float. And then the other thing is you just buy an ETF if you just want liquidity. And you could look at that URA, right, for liquidity purposes, 5 million shares yesterday. And then the other one that you gave me, URNM, you can look at what's going on there, and you can see that's trading a fifth of what URA is trading. So I would probably focus on URA because if these do reverse and you have liquidity, you can get out faster, right? And getting out faster, I mean, it does matter. And I would focus on that. It's definitely something that I would focus on. So let's just keep it moving. But I do like those names. UEC, right? We've looked at either. So, you're welcome, buddy. Hey, Randy. I like it. Look, I like this a lot. I think this could be huge. I really do. I think they're going to benefit greatly from legislation. I really believe that. This is not going to go away. Charging stations are not going to go away. EV is not going away. You need supply. You need a supply chain for that. You can get to 36. I just don't buy stocks that are bidding up 2 points on a recommendation. It's just something I learned after a period of time. If I'm in a runaway, breakaway market, you have my attention. Everyone that's been trading for the past month knows that trading is not like it was last year, right? That you need to actually know what you're doing now. So the game's changed. So I'm not in a big hurry here. But yeah, that's definitely on the radar and should be on your radar. So Mohammed, I went over it. I'll go over it again very briefly. So as Qualcomm, yeah, I mean, just avoid it. There's really no other way to say it. I mean, I can't hold 125. That's where I need to stay. And you're breaking down. You can see all my lines up here. I mean, I can actually, at this point, probably should get rid of everything. And you can see, and let's get rid of these as well and just look at what's going on here. I mean, if the name wasn't look at it this way. If the name wasn't Qualcomm, would you be looking at it? Right? Both are wicks. I'd rather focus on here. So it's a stronger trend. But you see where I'm going? Now look at this. Okay? That's an issue. So that's a real issue that you need to focus on. I would not be going near this. I would not. Asan got some action yesterday. I actually like the action I saw. So we're going to see if you have follow through today. I was just marking off levels, looking at them. We have not been in this since we closed it out for like a $45 gain. Got out up here and then it broke. And then, you wonder why you got out and then it runs and then this happens. So, it doesn't always happen the first time. But look, this is what you're focused on, getting above this nasty red bar, which is 112.25. And if you do that and stay above that, you could keep going. Now, yesterday you got to 112.90, but what happened? We came back down. So that's not what you want to say. Okay, so just watch that today. It's definitely on my watch list. I'll put it to you that way. So people like playing this. I mean, to me, this is not one that's very interesting to me for a couple of reasons. One, I don't really have any volume on this. Like if I was going to buy this, I might as well, I might as well go here and just go, I'm going to buy ARC because everything she owns is better than what's in TECL, right? I mean, we already know that. So I would argue you can go that way with it. The other thing is if I was going to play a 3X index, I would be buying PQQ if I wanted to do that. Huge liquidity issues. And you're like, well, that's not all tech. Well, most of NASDAQ is tech, right? Or I'd get specific and drill down into sectors. Even this one, I think you're better off that you can make money off of than this one. I have a hard time with this one just because of there's not a ton of volume on it. And you're really mimicking what the S&P is doing, right? I mean, if you're going to trade this, you could trade this, right? So, and have way more liquidity. So it's just something to consider. But I don't see anything that there's nothing about what you just went over or asked about that leads me to believe that I need to be in that. I don't feel that way. I don't see anything that's telling me, yes, I have to buy that. See this line, how it comes down here? See how this is rolling? So that's what I would start looking for. So it's not something that I would look for. I have hold on, let's go this bearish engulfing on new, this little tiny stock again? Hold on 1 second. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on there. I wish you nothing but the best, but maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. You're just taking a shot. I mean, look, I'm just caveat. I have a huge position in this for me. I have a large position and I've had it for a while. We got in it in the newsletter at 12. So I don't see any reason why this isn't going to go higher. It doesn't mean it's going to go higher today. I'm going to watch it and see how it plays out. But frankly, I really like what I'm saying. And let's see how it plays out. We'll go from there. But overall, I like it. Let's keep going. Facebook. So, yeah, there's a lot of people looking at this going, it's cheap. I'm looking at the earnings. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, look, Congress has been very hands off with big tech. And I'm surprised. I'll be surprised if they aren't almost forced to do something at this point. This thing where we're just going to sit there and do nothing and just allow all this stuff to happen is just beyond crazy. And when that report that came out in 60 Minutes should wake everybody up to what's going on here. So it's an issue. It's a real issue when they know that they could actually be hurting people. And I don't know that we've seen the end of this as far as the selling down. I've been saying for some time that when we broke up here, that we could expect to see this continue. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're seeing this continue. So for me, yeah, I'm not crazy about covering this or thinking that you need to cover this anytime soon. I just don't see anything like that. So, let's see how it plays out and we'll go from there. But that said, I'd be really careful buying bottoms like this. But you can buy it and then just use the 200 days as your stop if you really want to get in there. So MQ. So I would not go near this. Like, this is not something that would be appealing to me. You broke down, you tried to rally, you can't, and here's basically an evening star pattern. So that's not really appealing. Asan over 112. I like that. What was that? 112 and a half level? Is that what we were looking at? Right. So yeah, over 112. Well, I think hold on, 113 now, right? Yeah, get over 113 and maybe it goes. Maybe that continues to go. And let's just go here and then go. Hubs, I traded. There was no, I was not buying that pullback yesterday. Look, this was a huge breakout on huge volume with them saying, hey, we're entering a different market. This is the market we're entering now, pay later market. I'm not sure how all that's going to end, but with people just making payments and getting payments on the pay now thing, I don't know. The way that I look at it, it's another way of having a credit card. But people seem to like the option of having it. Like, oh, hey, I can buy this TV and I can make payments over a year. Like, that's not appealing to someone like me at all. And I don't get it. I really don't. Like, just wait till you can afford it. Um, but there's a market for it and it's taking off, and there's a global market for it. So the fact that they're getting into an area where you're starting to see Amazon get into, and the biggest retailers, Walmart, getting into, it's definitely good for the company. But as far as chasing this when it pulled back, no, that wasn't the move. The move was to buy the breakout and then trade the breakout. Now I've got this wick here, and maybe it takes this out, maybe it doesn't. You're in no man's land right now. So there's not a lot that I would do there. Um, yeah, OpenX, great. I like Open a lot. I think it's going to, I think these are the kinds of names that are going to wind up working in this market. They're like one-offs. They're not tied directly to anything. We did put this in the newsletter yesterday. But I do think you're going to trade up to, here and here and here fairly quickly. GRWG and Spot. I mean, that's just to me, that's just an outright short. If I wanted to short something, that would be it. Like, that just looks disastrous. Um, every rally is just met by selling. So I'm not really sure the reason or the rationale for it, but that's what you're dealing with. So I would not be going near that. Now, Spot, I like a lot as a company. I think that they're doing a lot right. And I think they're going to be around for a very long time. So there's a trend line here, and this can work here. Let me just put it to you that way. See this little bar break above the 50? See, you broke out, tested the 21 over and over again. See, you're sitting right here. So this could go. I mean, if you can get above this level right here, you could see some action in it. Okay. So this can go. And this is, I can't stress this enough. Like, as far as a company, they're doing everything right. They're not doing, first off, Spot has the single largest paid subscriber group in the world. It's like the envy of everybody. And it's a great product. And they're not tied to like this censorship issue or anything like that. So it's a really smart move on their part. And I think that just allowing all of it makes a lot of sense. So that means that when everything shakes out, these are the platforms people are going to use. I would also argue that you're forming this V, like a V bottom, right? So I would argue that this is being formed. Right. So I'd argue that you're starting to form that. And then you're running into this trend line right here. So this can go. I mean, your issue is going to be 265 right now, but I like that trade. Net, yes, net is very toppy here. Doesn't mean it can't go higher, but I mean, it just keeps going. I mean, seriously, you broke through this level and it's just been nonstop. First time failed, but now you're through. I mean, there's not really any other way to say it. So it looks great. When are earnings on that name? You might just want to watch that. So let's just throw that in real quick. So you got earnings in, is that end of October or November? November, early November. So just be aware of that because it can get pretty volatile during there. I'll run through a couple more and then I have to jump here. So Sophie, I like, actually. It's actually starting to shape up. It's actually starting to build. So let's just see how that trades today. But yeah, I mean, look, these kinds of names now, you should be looking at buying these on dips, right? Like when they start dipping during the day, look at buying them on those dips. That's how I would play them. I do think that they can work. I think names like Open can work. As I'm watching the NASDAQ here, it's starting to turn and go more positive. That's a really good sign. Apple looks great as far as like it's not falling down. I'm down 75 cents on the day. So there might actually be a trade there and then, off the open frankly, the way it's acting. So to me, I think it's actually going to go higher, but we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. That said, let's just go through. I don't know that it's over, but just watch 764 swing. APPS looks great. I mean, here, I'll do APPS. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's my point, DJ. Like, how, start telling me what your write-off is. How are you getting the item back? Right? You're going to go to their house. You're going to have to hire people. Like, there's just a lot of issues that I really don't understand. I'm going to do APPS, and then I got to hop in the trading room. So APPS, look, we got in this. We had 2 BPAs on it. Both are up now over $10. I think you're going to 93, 94 bucks. I really do. I think you're heading there. I think it's almost going to be like a magnet. Someone needs to tell the stock that there's been a market correction, because it's just been a honey badger. It just simply does not care. So that's it. Got to jump here. Time to get paid. Everybody have a great day. If you need me, as always, just reach out via email. I know a lot of people don't want to talk about their personal stuff and chat sometimes about position sizes, and that's understandable, or something they got themselves stuck in. All right, everybody have a great day.